OMG. Unbelievable. Raw kicks off with another vicious attack from Drew McIntyre on the champion Cody Rhodes. Drew McIntyre just crossed a line that can never be uncrossed. The Scottish Warrior's brutal assault on Cody Rhodes to open Monday Night Raw wasn't just another attack, it was a savage beating so vicious and personal that it left the WWE Champion bloodied, broken, and questioning whether he can even survive until their next match. When you see the level of hatred and malice that Drew brought to this attack, and hear what he screamed at Cody while security desperately tried to pull him away, you're going to be absolutely disgusted at how far their rivalry has descended into pure violence and genuine animosity. The fact that WWE allowed this attack to kick off Raw shows just how desperate they are to convince the audience that this feud has reached levels of intensity that go beyond typical wrestling storylines. Drew didn't wait for an entrance, didn't cut a promo, didn't give Cody any warning, he just ambushed the champion in the most cowardly yet devastating attack we've seen in years, proving that his obsession with destroying the American Nightmare has consumed every shred of honor and sportsmanship he once possessed. What makes this attack so much more shocking than previous confrontations is how Drew specifically targeted Cody's previously injured body parts with surgical precision, as if he'd been studying medical reports and identifying exactly which areas would cause maximum pain and potential career-ending damage. This wasn't just about making a statement, this was about trying to injure Cody so severely that he'd be forced to forfeit his championship without Drew even having to beat him in a fair fight. But here's what's going to make your blood boil with rage: this attack on Cody wasn't just about Drew's frustration over past losses or championship opportunities. According to backstage sources who are risking their jobs to reveal this information, Drew has been planning this specific assault for weeks, waiting for the perfect moment when Cody would be most vulnerable and least expecting an attack of this magnitude and brutality. The ambush happened during what was supposed to be Cody's opening segment, where he would address the WWE Universe about his championship reign and upcoming defenses. Instead, Drew's music hit at the exact moment Cody was showing respect to the fans, attacking him from behind in the most dishonorable way possible while the champion's guard was down and his focus was on connecting with the audience who support him. "You want to be everyone's hero? Let me show you what real suffering looks like." Drew's words during the assault were barely audible over Cody's screams of pain, but those who heard them understood that this wasn't just physical punishment, it was psychological warfare designed to break Cody's spirit and prove that being a beloved champion meant nothing when facing someone willing to abandon all morality to achieve their goals. The Claymore kick that Drew delivered wasn't just powerful, it was aimed with such precision at Cody's head that medical personnel immediately rushed to check for concussion symptoms and potential brain trauma. The sickening sound of the impact made even hardened wrestling fans turn away in horror, creating genuine concern that Drew's obsession had led him to cross the line from competitive violence into potentially career-ending assault. But the Claymore was just the beginning of Drew's systematic destruction of WWE's top champion. What followed was a prolonged beating that included multiple chair shots to Cody's back and ribs, a devastating future shock DDT onto the steel ramp, and repeated stomps to his injured shoulder that had Cody screaming in agony while Drew laughed maniacally like someone who had completely lost touch with reality. The most disturbing aspect of this attack was how Drew seemed to be genuinely enjoying Cody's suffering, taking his time between each move to savor the champion's pain and humiliation. The sadistic pleasure on Drew's face revealed someone who had transformed from a proud warrior into a vindictive monster whose hatred had consumed every positive quality he once possessed. Security's attempts to stop the assault were completely ineffective because Drew had apparently planned for their intervention by positioning himself near exits and using the ring environment to his advantage. Every time officials got close to stopping him, Drew would deliver another devastating move and create separation, demonstrating strategic thinking that made this attack even more frightening in its calculated execution. The crowd's reaction shifted from shock to genuine anger as Drew continued his assault long after it was clear that Cody was defenseless and unable to protect himself. Fans began throwing trash at Drew and screaming for someone to stop him, creating an atmosphere of real hatred that went beyond typical heel heat into genuine disgust at witnessing what felt like a legitimate assault rather than wrestling entertainment. But here's where this situation becomes absolutely insane: when other WWE wrestlers finally rushed out to help Cody, Drew didn't retreat or show any concern about being outnumbered. Instead, he grabbed a microphone and delivered a promo so filled with venom and personal attacks that it made his physical assault look merciful by comparison, revealing depths of hatred that nobody knew existed. "Cody Rhodes, you think finishing your story made you special? I'm going to finish you permanently." Drew's threat wasn't delivered with wrestling bravado, it was spoken with the cold certainty of someone making a genuine promise about ending another person's career and livelihood. The seriousness in his tone made everyone understand that this rivalry had evolved beyond entertainment into something genuinely dangerous. The medical attention Cody required after this attack was extensive and immediately visible, with trainers applying ice packs to multiple body parts while checking his responsiveness and cognitive function. The fact that Cody couldn't stand on his own and had to be helped backstage created legitimate concern that Drew's assault had caused injuries severe enough to threaten his ability to defend his championship. Backstage reports following the attack paint an even more disturbing picture of Drew's mental state and motivation. Multiple wrestlers who confronted him about crossing the line were met with complete indifference and statements suggesting that he believes any level of violence is justified in pursuit of the championship that he feels was stolen from him through politics and favoritism. The psychological impact on Cody from this attack extends far beyond physical injuries to fundamental questions about his safety and ability to continue as champion when someone is willing to use such extreme violence to take his position. The fear and vulnerability visible on his face during the assault created sympathy that could actually strengthen his connection with fans who relate to being victimized by someone more powerful and willing to cheat. WWE management's response to this attack has been notably weak and inadequate, with no immediate announcement of suspensions or consequences for Drew's actions. The lack of decisive leadership has created speculation that officials are either afraid of Drew or secretly approve of his methods because they create the kind of controversy and audience engagement that drives ratings and social media discussion. Industry veterans are comparing this attack to legendary assaults that changed the trajectory of wrestling history, but with the caveat that Drew's willingness to target specific injury areas and ignore all boundaries of acceptable behavior makes this feel more dangerous and less controlled than previous memorable beatdowns. The genuine concern for Cody's well-being creates a different kind of investment than typical worked violence. The implications for their eventual championship match are absolutely terrifying because Drew has proven that he's willing to injure Cody before they even have their official contest, potentially creating an unfair advantage through pre-match assault rather than earning victory through superior performance. The dishonorable tactics raise questions about whether any match between them can be fair given Drew's willingness to cheat and ambush. Social media reaction has been overwhelmingly negative toward Drew, with fans expressing genuine anger at his tactics and calling for severe punishment. However, a vocal minority is defending his actions by arguing that championship-level competition requires doing whatever it takes to win, creating polarized discussion that drives engagement and keeps both wrestlers at the center of wrestling conversation. The financial implications for WWE are significant because this level of violence and genuine animosity creates must-see television that could drive increased viewership and pay-per-view purchases. However, it also creates risks if the violence feels too real or crosses boundaries that make casual fans uncomfortable, potentially limiting the mainstream appeal that WWE seeks to cultivate. Other championship contenders are reportedly watching this situation carefully because Drew's tactics have established a precedent that extreme violence and rule-breaking might be acceptable paths to title opportunities. The potential for other wrestlers to adopt similar methods could fundamentally change WWE's competitive environment and force management to establish clearer boundaries about acceptable behavior. The long-term storytelling possibilities created by this attack are extensive, providing opportunities for revenge storylines, intervention by authority figures, alliance formations among wrestlers concerned about Drew's behavior, and ultimate redemption arcs that could sustain compelling programming for months while maintaining audience investment in the outcome. Cody's response to this attack will be absolutely critical for maintaining his status as champion and proving that he can overcome adversity even when facing an opponent willing to use any tactic to achieve victory. His ability to recover physically and respond strategically will determine whether this assault strengthens or weakens his championship reign. Quick question for the comments: do you think Drew McIntyre has gone too far with these attacks, or is this the level of intensity required to be a legitimate championship contender in modern WWE? Let me know your thoughts below. And here's another one: should WWE suspend Drew for this attack, or do championship-level competitors deserve different rules because the stakes are so high? Drop your opinion in the comments.